Alrighty, so top tier, no artillery. Pretty much the same comp on both sides. I typically like to start to go out to the field because that'll give you an idea of what they send out over here. You can go through these buildings and basically go up this path. There's these hills here that you can basically surf to spot. It's not really good for mediums to push through here. It's just a lot of alleys. I don't think it's a good idea for any tanks to push through here, but I see people try it all the time. It's too easy for them to get shot at. But as usual, you got to see where your team is going 30 60 seconds into the match, just so you get an idea of what they're going to be thinking or doing. So much of this game is just playing off of your teammates and hoping that they're not too dumb, for the lack of a better word. So you got about half going that way and half going this way. You ideally don't like seeing so many people K-line in it when there's no artillery. And then these are the hills right here. You can basically just surf along these hills until you light or get lit. And there's plenty of cover from direct fire. And since there's no artillery, you're not really worried about indirect fire. You just drive up on this hill right here and then drive back. Driving through here is where things get sketchy. You want to be careful doing that, because once you start driving through that intersection right in front of you, it becomes a big crossfire. You need to get your shots of opportunity here while they're shooting at that ELC, though. See how they've got a couple of guys right here as well. You can get shots on those guys pretty easily. I wouldn't worry too much about that guy. And the guys camping in the back, you don't really worry too much about sniping against them. And you can always go back higher on this hill to get better shots on those guys. And ideally you want to be a little bit further away because you're going to be able to out-view range them, especially the lower tier ones like the ARL. I still wouldn't worry about the Cromwell. I would worry about that sort of D7-ish area. You should be able to get a lot of shots there. And you're virtually hulled down because of the way that this hill is. So just, if they're going to sit out there, make them pay. Nothing else can shoot you. It's just those guys. If you're going to shoot at that guy, you should shoot the heat. But I don't think that Black Prince at this point is the biggest concern. I would actually start looking over here and thinking about trying to figure out how you can help that. There's also that IS-2 in the middle that you can shoot pretty easily. You just back up a little bit, you can get shots on this IS-2. And this is the problem with pushing through that middle, is that there's no protection there at all. It's very, very easy to get shots. And so you want to be able to punish that. You haven't had very much success shooting at the Black Prince. I would try to figure out how you're going to shoot at a different target. You're starting to lose the rest of your team over here. And so that's something that you always have to consider. You always have to be aware of how quickly your team on the other side is going to lose. You had plenty of time to go over and help them if you wanted. And you want to be careful about crossing right here. If you're going to cross, you want to cross through the back there, because otherwise these guys right there can shoot you if they're paying attention. So you're coming over here a little too late. But at some point you just want to let them get on your cap. The caps are actually not that difficult to defend. You can also push towards that middle through there. You need to make something happen. You need to clear out one side or another so that you guys have a little bit of room to operate. That's good. And you can actually push to the back side of this Black Prince if you wanted. I wouldn't worry too much about these guys quite yet. Again, the cap is easy to defend. I would get across, take out the Black Prince, and then you can come back. Or you can think about fast capping. I don't know why you're driving across. Just drive literally straight over there, and go and get him. And then I would actually probably just push through here, because you're not going to be able to take all these 3 guys on at once. You can basically push back behind these guys and start clearing out from the back. And then go back and try to get to your base before they cap out. You probably kill that E25. I think he's right there. Oh my god, don't be afraid. Just go and get him. No! Less nibbling! Got a bunch of one-shot tanks there. Take advantage. Bunch of one-shot tanks. Probably had a little bit of a better shot on that left side of his hull. See how they're pushing into your guys now? You should have been the one doing that push. They've got a bunch of one-shot tanks, so you've got to start taking out these one-shot tanks. You can't nibble, nibble, nibble. You had time to aim that one all the way in. You still have time to aim that one all the way in. You still have time. You still have time. Oh. You need to start taking some of these tanks down. Too much nibbling. You're just waiting for your team. Die. And then now you're just sort of letting them surround you. So you need to push out to one direction or the other. You don't want to run away, because all that's going to do is that's going to drag them all after you, and they're going to congregate. You want to find them one-on-one. This is where you want to 1v1 me, bro. That's what you want. You want a sequence of 1v1s against one-shot tanks. Ram. Oh yeah, worth it. There's only one on cap, so you have a minute. There's going to be guys that are right here in front of you. I would actually just turn around and go and kill that guy. You've got enough time. Load HE. Oh, you did load HE. Wow. Excellent. Ruh-roh. Oh, guard yourself with the carcass. Guard yourself with the carcass. Alright, so you did okay. I mean, you were over here for a while though, and it doesn't really matter what side of the map you're on. Whenever you're on one side of the map, look and see what's going on the other side. You could have really helped out your guys by simply doing what you did already, just doing it earlier, right? And you have to think about preserving your team. And if your team isn't going anywhere on this side, if they're camping a bunch of guys, just go someplace else. That's the thing about having mobility, is that you can just leave whenever you want. There's nobody holding you there. There's no leash around your neck that's tied you off to one side of the map. You have the ability to move. So go ahead and use that ability. And then you still had a chance. Even after you let your team die over here, you still had a chance. And really what you need to do is focus on getting those tanks down, especially when you see a bunch of one-shot tanks. Don't nibble, 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 nibble. Just go and punch people in the face. Punch people in the face. They cannot stop you. They're one-shot, like that E25. Like, you started trying to clear one-shot tanks way too late. If you started clearing those one-shot tanks a lot earlier, then you would have had a much better chance. Even after you let your guys die over here, you would have had a much better chance to win that game. There comes a time when you have to stop sniping and just go in there and brawl and punch people in the face. And you can't be afraid to do that. Alright, so if you look at the stats, neither team did particularly bad. If you could actually argue that their team, well, actually, you could argue that their team played a little bit worse than your team, but marginally. So that's a game that you probably could have won. Just got to make a more concerted effort to try to keep your team alive, I think, and be sure that you watch that map, especially when there's nothing going on your side. If you're not pushing, if you're not winning, if you're not doing something, you should make sure that you're doing okay on that other side. GG, nice try. Alrighty, so next, man, apparently we have a lot of move submissions. We'll do Rabid Gnomes one, which is, I think, the same one that he submitted on the forum thread that I haven't had time to look at yet. Well, you can't control what your teammates do. You can control what you do. Alright, so looks like T32, Redshire, no artillery. Oh my. You should be able to feast. Redshire is a nice hilly place. So you can play up this 3 line if you want. You can play the 4 line if you want. You can play on this sort of 7-ish line area if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. You can play on the 1 line if you want. I don't like playing the 0 line, but you can if that's your thing. You can pretty much go anywhere in a super hold down tank with no artillery on this map. This map is awesome for T32s when there's no artillery. But again, like on any map, you got to look and see what your team is doing, because it's going to be very important to the how you're going to play whatever area you end up in. So it looks like you've got a bunch of K-liners, but about half are going middle and about half are going west, which is pretty good. I think that's a good dispersion for this map. I don't think it's ever useful to sit on this area anymore and get shots until the late game when they actually start pushing in across. And you have to be careful about how high you go up on this side anyways, because you're going to start giving them better and better shots. You don't actually get very good shots on these guys until they start moving up. Unless for some reason they stop out in the open like that, but okay, that works. And then I don't think you want to sit there and continue to look for those shots because they're not really going to be there. And so you look at what your team is doing, right? You got a T-54 E1 headed this way, which is bad news. I would never take a T-54 E1 over here, first of all. And a T-29, which, T-29 is not that bad. But you guys need to make something happen over here. You've spotted 0 tanks. So you need to figure out, you know how much they have over here. You know that they have both of their top tiers are over here. So you need to see what's going on this side. Again, this 0 line is not important really to the outcome of the game. So there's a little bit too much sniping. It's very, very easy to kill these guys as they try to cross over into this area into the cap. And it's the same thing for the other side. It's very, very easy for to kill them as they cross over this area into the cap.
Enemy
So I think you should be looking to get more shots on this side than on the other side. I wouldn't worry about that other side. Just focus. So you're doing too much snipey dipey. Just bully. You've got a huge advantage on this map with no artillery. And so you don't want to drive across the top like this, but if you drive up through this depression line right there, you'll get a lot better shots. It doesn't look like they even have anybody up here though. Just keep going, keep going. Just go and bully. Go and bully. I don't know what shots you think you're gonna get here, but it's not. You're killing your team right now. Just killing your team with your inactivity. It's the game is over 3 minutes into the game. You've got 1 shot of damage. Well, you might have hit that blind shot on the 5120, so you might have 2 shots of damage. But just too much delay. And if you were gonna head out there, why didn't you already do it? Why wait so long and then do it when your team is already dead? Now that your team is dead, now is the time when you should be camping there. Because now is when you're going to start getting the shots as they start moving across there. So you did this is the classic that you see out of your teammates. Happens all the time. Camp the base, camp the base, camp the base. As soon as the enemy comes, oh, let's run away. So you're in a bad position, and then right when your position is about to become a good position, you leave it.
Enemy armor is hit.
You gotta play to the strengths of your tank.
Penetration.
You know, aim a little bit more towards the drive wheel.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
That T-34 is still 1 shot. But playing where you guys are playing at right now actually is to their advantage.
That one bounced.
And then you don't want to cross this open field in front of you because they control this hill right here. So it's going to be really easy for them to take you out if you try to push across there. If you want to counter push, you actually need to counter push all the way back through there. But I don't think that's necessary. I think what you should have done is just waited for them to drive across and then just shoot them for free. And what you really needed to be able to do is make sure that you're not going to get backdoored here. And so you don't want to drive down the middle like this. Like, this is not a good position for you.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
Especially if you try to push through here, right? You're going to push yourself into flanking shots. And it looks like they're going to go try to flank you guys, so that's not good. And now you guys, not only did you give up a lot of map control, you're sitting in this middle area here. You're basically sitting in this area where they can come around to either side that they want.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
And you're taking hope shots on this T-28. Like, and you can move. It's not like you're pinned there. You can literally just drive back out there.
Ready to fire. Enemy is
This
hit.
is not an auto-aim shot. You can zoom that shot.
Enemy armor is hit.
I think our reticle is bugged a little bit here. But still, that is not an auto-aim shot.
Enemy armor is damaged.
No, don't drive out there. Why?
Track hit.
You're driving into this lane. Track him.
Ricochet.
You're lucky this T-28 is awful. Don't shoot your teammate. You should be shooting for the other cap.
Penetration.
He's got it under control, but just make sure you don't shoot your teammate. There you go. And then now use your hold down. Use the advantage that you've had the entire game, but have for whatever reason refused to use. Not the 1390. You need to focus on anything other than the 1390 right now. The 1390 is the least of your concerns. These guys are trying to push up onto the Roomba, and you need to stop them.
Enemy armor is damaged.
No, not the Super Pershing. He's not a threat.
Penetration.
He is not a threat. He is not the one owning your team right now. Pay attention. Target selection, very important. Especially when they're your platoon mates. You got no excuse for not saving your platoon mates. Or at least not trying. Now you've got no shot. So now you might as well shoot the Super Pershing. You really need to take out that 1390. That would be huge. Because he's the only one who can outmaneuver you. Everyone else is butt-ass slow. 1390, 1390, 1390, the 1390! Oy. And then you don't want to come too far on this side of the hill, because when you come on this side of the hill, then they can shoot you in the ass. The 1390, you've waited too long. I think that window is passed, because there's no reason why for him just to hang out there and wait for you.
We can only shoot close targets.
Although he decided to. Oh my god, no, don't drive forward, drive back, drive back, drive back! No! You're gonna get shot. You know where they're at. Again, it's not like they're gonna teleport or something. And so what you actually want is you actually want there to be some distance between you and them. And you want to use the fact that you have a hold down. These are three bad players that are left. So the only way that you can throw this is if you get into a close quarters confrontation and allow them to flank you. If you sit at a distance, if you sit hold down, GG, you win.
Penetration. They killed our driver. We're covering his position, but not very well.
That's good, killed it. That's the one you want to kill. And then just stay close to him. Don't let him ram you.
Enemy is hit. We're immobilized.
No, you can just shoot him in the turret.
Tracks is damaged.
That's a bad place to shoot.
We're done for. Everyone get out.
The one thing, those guys were willing to throw the game to you. They were just like, here, we'll give it to you. I don't care. I don't want this win. But you're like, nah, you guys earned it. Good effort. I don't know what this guy's doing, but we'll watch. Maybe we need to go faster. This Ferdinand should be able to own these guys, theoretically. Stop twitching the camera! Hey look, they're on cap. How long is it going to take them to realize that they're on cap? Lol. Anyhow. Yeah, you completely sucked this game, Rabbit. Sorry, man, but it was This was a matchmaking silver platter where they're just like, here you go, have a win. And you said, meh, I don't know. Let's try to find creative ways to throw it. Okay, so let's review. Let's go back and review the whole thing. Okay, so you pushed up through here and you stopped here to take some shots at these guys over here, which is fine. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. You did have some lanes where you could get shots, but you really perseverated over here for a really long time when you didn't have shots. Guys were spotted over here. You're still looking over on this side. Nothing was spotted in this middle yet. You were still looking over on this side. I mean, you were just fixated, just completely fixated on the fact that you had no shots at all. And again, whenever your gun is silent for so long, especially when you know you're in a match where you've got a huge advantage. T-32, hilly map, no artillery. Huge advantage. You got to be able to take advantage of that. Don't sit here and wait for shots that are never going to happen. And again, it's so easy. Once these guys push through here, it's so easy to shoot them as they cross through here. Just wait. If you're going to let them win that side, just let them win it. And then when they come across, punch them in the face. It's the same thing, and this is the same problem with going the other way. If you win this side and you push across over here, all you have to do is just sit back here and wait. They push in and you punch them in the face. It's just so easy to defend. And so that's why I don't really think that this area is super useful. You can go here and fight if you want. It's actually a pretty fun place to fight in. But once you win, go back and through the middle. Go back through someplace else. Don't try to push through the open fields. It's just too easy to get owned. Okay, so that was one of the mistakes, just that you're way too passive. And then 4 minutes through the game, you decide, oh, okay, and at 4 minutes through the game, your team over here is now completely dead. You decide, oh, okay, well, we're going to start playing a little bit more aggressively on this side. And that's fine. You sort of started to push up here, and then you turn around and came back. And again, this was another huge mistake, is once you allow them to kill your team over here, which I'm sort of fine with, as long as you're doing something on the other side. I don't think that this is a super important place to save. I don't think that a T-54E1 and a T-29 is going to be enough to save what you know what was over there. You know that the T-10 was over there. You know that the 5120 over there. You know that the Luva was over there. You know every single tank that was over there almost. Right? And you look and see what you have, a T-54E1 and a T-29. Yeah, that ain't going to stop that. So, you have to mentally check that off. Those guys are going to die. There's nothing that you can do to save them. If you were going to save them, you should have driven over there earlier yourself. And so, instead of sitting there for 4 minutes doing nothing, go over here and figure out how you're going to win on this side. Figure out how you're going to be relevant on the side that you're on. And then once they start coming through here, you drove back into this town. And basically what that did is that stopped them on the only area where they had a little bit of defense. If you just allow them to drive forward, they have to drive through big open areas. And you just shoot them up. You have a perfect hold down position from back here. You can spot them, right? The distance from where you were to this open area right here, where you're completely hold down the entire time, right? That distance is less than 200 meters. I'm sure that you have more than 200 meters of view range on your T-32. There's nothing that's going to squeak by you to get to the cap. So if they want to move to the cap, they have to cross this big-ass open area. And it's the same thing on the other side, and that's why this area is a problem. It's the same thing on the other side. If they want to move through the cap, you've got a perfect hold-down area here, 200 meters distance between you and them. All you got to do is just light them up. Okay, so you drove over here into them. You were able to not trade very well, but at least you were able to kill like that IS-8. He high rolled you for like almost 500 damage, which I didn't think was necessary. And then you took some really dumb risks against the T-28. The T-28, you were just taking hope shots, just complete hope shots. And then you kind of just drove out into the middle when you already had a teammate flanking him. You had a teammate behind him, and you still were driving out here taking shots from him. Like there's no reason for that. Your teammate could have killed him just fine without you taking any damage. And then the most critical error was when you didn't save your guy. But let's say that you couldn't. Let's just say, oh, I missed. I mean, it happens, right? Sometimes you miss, especially when you're trying to snipe with the 105 from that distance against moving targets. It'll miss. That'll happen. So let's say your Roomba dies anyways. Still, you've got a huge chance, especially once their 1390 went down, which was a good shot. I'll give you that. Especially once their 1390 went down, they have 3 bad players left. You know where they are. They're in slow tanks. All you have to do is keep your distance, keep your hull down, right? And just shoot them. It'll become a shooting gallery. They'll drive into your reticle. They'll drive into the open. They'll do all sorts of stupid things. The only way that you can throw that is if you let them get out someplace where they kill your Ferdinand and then go cap out magically, right? Which is not going to happen because they're not really that fast of tanks. So it's not like they can just magically warp out of there, right? So you know about the area, and you also know that they're not very good players. And so they're going to be willing to drive into you. So all you had to do was just drive back, play this hill, and then see, okay, are they going to stay on this hill? Are they going to push towards the Ferdinand? Are they going to come out? And then if they poke out, you get your free shot of damage. They have really no recourse to stop you because you're in a hull down T-32 on Redshire with no artillery, right? And you should have been able to just own those guys. The only way that you could lose to those guys, realistically speaking, was if it was in a close quarter combat where multiple tanks were attacking you from multiple different directions, which is exactly what you did. You drove exactly into the one area, the only area where they could possibly have a chance to beat you. And that's what's really painful, because it's just like the only thing that you had to do was use the strengths of your tank for this entire match, and you had multiple chances of winning this game. It wasn't just, this, at the start, the 4 minutes doing nothing is what killed you. It wasn't the moving over here and trading poorly that's what killed you. It wasn't moving into this T28 and trading poorly against that T28 that is what killed you. It wasn't even moving over here and getting killed by these 3 not very good players that really lost you the game. It's any one of those things. You do any one of those things just slightly differently, you win this game. And it's not close. You win this game. So we look at the stats. Yeah, I don't know. Your team didn't do that bad. I mean, you got a bunch of weight on the bottom, but I mean, so do they. They don't really have a whole lot down there as well. I didn't really think Dasp should have gotten himself killed by that 1390 or whatever it was either. That I thought that was completely unnecessary, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, I don't know. That's pretty bad. I mean, you did pretty well. I mean, you still did 18 for 27, which isn't horrible, but you could have done so much more. You could have been so much more active. You could have saved so many more of your platoon mates, not to mention your teammates. You could have traded so much better for the times that you did get aggressive. But yeah, it's just one thing. Any one of those many mistakes is what culminates in the loss. And I mean, again, you played fairly well overall. I'm not saying that you're a horrible person or a horrible player. Well, you might be a horrible person, but you're not a horrible player. I'm just kidding. But the point is that you always want to do a couple of things. One is make sure that you're staying active. All right, there's some times where you can't, right? Like if you know you're pinned down by a bunch of higher tier tanks and things like that, you can't be too active. It's just one of those things, right? So if you had played through, like, let's pretend like you played on that 0 line and you're trading against their 5120, their IS-8, the Luva, the T-34, all that other crap that they had over there. Let's say you were that guy that was trading over there. Okay, right? You might not be able to get a lot of shots. Your entire goal might just be to slow them down. But when you know that that's not on the side that you're on, you cannot play passively. You have to be sure that your gun is active. If you're on the strong side, play strong. If you're on the weak side, play weak. Just use your head. And then it's just about utilizing that advantage when you have it. Like if there's a terrain advantage in the map and you have a tank that's good in that terrain, play in that terrain, right? Especially in a situation like this where there's no artillery, or let's say there was artillery and they eventually got killed, right? Play that terrain to your tank's advantage. The T-32 is a complete monster hull down. How many shots did you actually get against players in this game? Of the 27 shots that you did, how many shots did you take that were actually hull down? Like one against a T-28 once you had already pushed through his fire. That's the only one that I can really think of. Everything else, the stuff that you had shots on your hull. So I don't feel like you utilized the strengths of the tank very well. But GG, nice try. It was a nice try, despite the fact that I'm grilling you. But I really hope that you understand that it was, you had so many chances, just so many chances to win the game. And even though you played well, it's just each of those little things, it didn't even snowball out of control, because even at the end, you still had a great chance to win, right? But you got to make the solid decisions. I did enjoy the replay though, so there is that. And I apologize, Rabbit, if that seemed a little harsh. Alright, and so the next is data links. I already forgot what it was. I think it was an E50. Oh, hang on. It's apparently it was on the other one, so I gotta boot it up on the other side. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible to throw harder than the game that we just saw, Data Link. Because again, it's just like one thing different in five different decisions in a row that could have won him that game. And I'm not talking like he had to make each five of the 5 decisions correctly. Any one of those 5 decisions made correctly would have won that game. That's the matchmaking gods just throwing it all at you, just saying, here, take a win. You know, we're just gonna give you this one on the house. Okay, anyways, let me concentrate on the game at hand. Alright, so E50, you got slightly more speed than them. So I would still take the field. I like taking this south side of the E line, especially in the E50. You can bully a lot of these tanks. The only thing that you need to worry about is like the waffle hiding in the back. They do have an advantage to play the outside from this field spawn, but I find that most of their speed tanks generally play a little bit soft anyways. You just have to be sure that you don't get shot by the waffle. Pretty much anything else getting shot by anything else is like, well, okay, or the artillery. But I think that is an always thing. It is not even a sometime food. It is a never get shot by artillery food. So just make sure that you can't get shot by the waffle. So I like peeking through here. Like if your CDC is going to get some spots here, which it looks like he is, that'll give you an idea of what their dispersion is like, unless he doesn't go very far forward. Oh, look, there's SU-14. So you know the SU-14 is moving out, so that's something to keep track of.
It's a trap!
And then you're finding your position. That actually suggests that they've got a lot still over here, right? Because if the SU-14 was the only thing that was spotted there, it's difficult to tell what the CDC's angle was. But you need to sort of assume that they've got a lot out here. A lot of your team is camping, so that's going to be a little bit of a concern. You can still play this 0 line. You probably want to poke out there just to make sure that they can't drive up here for free, because once they get into this area right here, that creates huge problems for you. So you want to go and see if you can get to a position where you can get some shots. And again, you have to remember that a lot of their team might still be out here because you didn't see a whole lot coming that other way.
It's a trap!
The wall needed punishment. And that's fine, because they're all still back here, so that's fine. But that Patton is still in the middle.
It's a trap!
You need to be careful, like when you're in the E50, when you take that corner, you want to take that corner a little bit more with your frontal armor. Patton can pen it, but everything else is still going to struggle a little bit. You still want to be able to see if you can light those guys over here. You might want to do it over by this side. And you need to be careful, because once they get up in here, that's going to cause problems for you, and that's why you want to keep an eye on this area right here, because you don't want that Patton to be allowed to just drive forward, or where he's at right now. Oh my God! Crack kills! Crack kills! No! Crack bounces.
It's a trap!
Yeah, he's gonna back up. So they still got a lot of guys back there, and so now's when, you know, so now's the sort of time when you want to think, okay, when you look at the dispersion of your team is playing a little bit soft, but maybe you might want to consider going out over here, right? You look and see what they have here. They got one tier 9, a couple of tier 8s, a tier 7, right? So they don't have a whole lot here, especially relative to the fact that you can just. It won't take you that long to get over there. It's not like it's gonna take you an hour and a half. And you need to be careful about trading here, as I was saying, because those guys in the back.
It's a trap!
Those guys in the back are really what's gonna hurt you. And so again, when you drive out there, you want to drive out there with a little bit more frontal armor. You keep giving them drive wheel, they're gonna keep shooting drive wheel. And you want to be careful right here, because this is an alley for artillery to shoot, especially when you know where the artillery is. So if you wanted, you could push forward here to that little wall, but I don't really think that that's necessary per se. That's just what teammates do. Pub is being pub. Well, life is an obstacle course. Yeah, but he did more damage than you still. Okay, so still, I still think that there's still a weakness of playing through there. So if you wanted to, you can come down through here, just jet past that JP and clear out this side. Like, you still have that option. Your guys are playing pretty soft over here, but they're playing pretty campy, so there's no reason for you to necessarily push into it. I think you can potentially outspot. What you don't want to do, what you do not want to do, is just drive across the middle here like that. There's no reason why you can't drive back through there, drive down through there, and then come up behind their guys over there without them knowing.
It's a trap!
But now you've alerted everyone to your presence, so this JP is going to be ready.
It's a trap!
That solves that problem. You should still do something. I don't think you're going to be able to save that super Pershing anymore. It's a little late for
It's
that.
a trap!
A little bit too much side armor again. Give them a little more front. A little less side. So you need to start moving down the cap lane. You don't want to hang out where you're at. You don't have to move down the cap lane, but you need to move someplace. You need to either move forward or backwards. Staying here is not an option. It's not a good option. You can shoot his hull. You had a shot on his hull, however brief. But you can't stay here. You just can't. Like this is not going to get you anywhere productive. Just too long. Just too long.
It's a trap!
And you don't want to hug this wall. This is not the wall you want to hug. You want to hug the other wall. This is how people get artied.
It's a trap!
Push across the other side now. Push across the other side now. Oh, just do it. Don't sit there. I'm about to arty you. I'm not even playing the game. Push
It's a
across.
trap!
Push across. You want to push across that other side. It'll be a lot safer. There's another hill right there.
It's a trap!
Der ging nicht durch.
No. First artillery.
Wirkungstreffer.
You need to make something happen on one side or the other here. Why did that waffle pull backwards after he shot? Like, sitting here is just, this is a losing point.
Er ging voll durch ihre Panzerung.
I don't know why this waffle's still trying to trade. At least the Panther 88's on the Sioux, so it'll be a little bit more of a problem.
Der ging voll durch ihre Panzerung.
And now you can sort of afford to wait a little bit. Wait for your Patton to get around to the flank. You still have to be worried about the Sioux, but what are you gonna do? You're gonna need to push. Because they're gonna be alerted to the M46 Patton, so you gotta make it happen here. Because they know that where the 46 Patton is. You can't afford to be static now. Stop giving so much side. The T-29 might still be on the same lane. We'll have to keep an eye out. No, you got a shot.
It's a trap!
Well, now you gotta just hope that you bounce something. A little bit too much side.
It's a trap!
Keeping down in front. Oh, he bounced. He's shooting APCR. Don't charge out! Don't charge out! No, there's no reason for you to. Oh. Oh my god.
Wir sind erledigt.
All right.
Raus hier.
See, that wasn't nearly as bad as Rapid Gnomes. You had some of the same sort of problems, though. The first problem was mechanical. On a lot of these corners, you're coming out a lot too square. Hang on, let's wait for that rubble to just die down a little bit. So when you take a corner, especially in the E50 or the E50M, you want to take it with a lot more frontal armor and a lot less side armor. You are allowing them to get shots that really shouldn't have. They shouldn't have had an easy time making. You were making their lives so much easier by pulling out a lot more in profile than you needed to do. So what you do is you just turn out a little bit more and then come in with your front. You have to get a little bit further away from the wall in order to do that, but in all these cases you had the opportunity to do that. And then again, I think when you know that there's not going to be that many tanks on this inside, right? So your CDC got you some information where you saw the SU-14 leaving the field and nothing else. So you kind of figure that there's going to be a lot of guys perhaps back here, depending on how that CDC spotted that SU-14, which suggests that there's going to be less in town. And that actually ended up being more or less what happened, right? They didn't really have that much in town relative to you. And so that's always a situation where if you feel like you're stalemated out here, just go ahead and relocate into the town. And if you had relocated into a town a little bit earlier, you probably could have saved those guys. And then the path that you go back, again, is very important. You drove down this road right here when all you had to do was just drive around like this, and nobody would have seen you coming. You would have been completely invisible to them until you popped up over here. Right? It would have been too late for the JP to react, and you could have gotten potentially to these guys. But instead, you kind of hung out over here for too long. At first you kind of hung out over here for too long. But I don't think that this was necessarily a bad play, hanging out over here, because you know that they have a lot back here. You just need to be sure that they're not pushing up this zero line, because where they're most vulnerable pushing up this zero line is crossing through this area right here, this sort of HG area here, because you can spot them over here. Your team can get shots, and they don't really have much recourse to stop you. You just need to make sure that when you take this corner, you take a corner with your frontal armor facing down this way, because you came out with your wheel, and that was what allowed the Patton to get that easy shot through the drive wheel there. And when you play this corner here, like, these other guys are going to have a hard time shooting you. Anybody that's on this side of the road won't be able to shoot you because they're not going to have an angle, and anybody on this side of the road can potentially shoot you, but if you angle yourself properly, it's not going to be an easy shot through the drive wheel. And then, so anyways, as you came back through here, I thought that you sat here for an okay amount of time. I think if you were planning on going to town, it should have been earlier. You always got to look and see what's going on with your team, and then take a more ninja route back, and it'll be a little bit more difficult for them to spot you. Just use the natural terrain, the fact that there's a big ass hill here, and just go around. And it literally would have taken you 5 seconds more, 3 seconds more, just to get to that position, but you wouldn't have had to stop at any point. You know how you ended up stopping here because you got lit? You wouldn't have had to stop at any point. You would have just been able to just drive straight in and just start punching people in the face. And ideally, if you can get that sort of running start, that's what you really want to be able to do. And then you kind of sat on this area far too long. Again, you need to be aware of where the artillery is, and you know where the artillery is because you saw him leave. Right, and he ain't coming back out here, especially once you guys, start doing decently in the field. He's not going to drive back out here. So you know that he's in here someplace. And so he's going to get good shots into that area right here. He's going to get good shots onto the north side of this wall anyplace. So you want to be on the south side of this wall because that's going to protect you from artillery. Right, and you'll still be able to get some shots. You'll still be able to use this as a hold down, and especially once they both shoot, the T-34 shot at you and the waffle shot at you. They're giving you a window. They're saying, "Here, 10 seconds, do whatever you want. I can't stop you." Right, and in that 10 seconds, all you gotta do is just drive across the street. So you gotta look for those opportunities and make sure that you're already safe because you probably should have been killed there by already a lot sooner. Otherwise. I thought you did pretty well. Your CDC caused some challenges for you in terms of shooting their T-34, or I think it was a T-34. But that'll happen. That's what teammates do. They like to get in the way. All right. Oops, that's not what I wanted. And so if you look at the stats. Not bad. Your team, not a super strong showing, particularly on the field side, but not horrible. But yeah, I mean, you still had some chances to win that. I think a lot of it, it's two things again. One is that mechanical side. Make sure that you're coming around more square with tanks with some armor. If you're in a fragile tank, it doesn't really matter, right? If you're in a, like the Czech tier 9 tank, right? It doesn't really matter what angle you come out. I mean, ideally you don't want to get yourself tracked out there, so you don't want to lead with the drive wheel, but it doesn't really matter. Even if you came out square in a Czech tank, they would pen you. But in a tank like the E50, where they can bounce, and especially a lot of those smaller guns, they can bounce. You want to be sure that you're coming out at a little bit more square of an angle. So there's that mechanical side of it, and then the other side of it is the map side of it, is just look and see what your team is doing, whether they're going to need your help. And if they're going to need your help, like I felt like you could have won in the town. Start thinking about your exit route. They weren't pressuring, the enemy team was not pressuring you in the field, right? They weren't pushing up against you guys. They weren't pushing you in the field at all. They were just saying they were content to sit back. And if they're going to be content to sit back and you don't feel like you can attack into them effectively, go and kill them someplace else. Don't be afraid to relocate, particularly in these faster tanks, especially when you're top tier. But anyways, GG. Nice try.